Hello, everybody, and welcome back to more political chatter. And I can't believe I'm saying it, but we are finally here. The 2024 Iowa caucuses for the Republican race are just 2 days away now. They are scheduled for January 15th, Monday, just in 2 days. So before any voting begins, before any surprises can happen, before anyone can dominate, aka Trump in New Hampshire, or in Iowa, before any voting takes place at all. This is my final election prediction for the 2024 Republican primary. As of right now, we have 6 candidates vying for the nomination. Chris Christie dropped out just a few days ago, which is huge for the Haley campaign in New Hampshire. But in Iowa, it is not, in the 4 early states that we have: Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. New Hampshire is really the only one that is pretty close. In Iowa, Trump is really dominating right now. So the 6 candidates: Donald Trump, former president; Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina and the UN ambassador under Trump; Vivek Ramaswamy, an entrepreneur from Ohio; Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas; Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida; and Ryan Binkley, a pastor from Texas, who is running an Iowa-based campaign, hoping for a good result in Iowa. So with that being said, let's go to Iowa, our first state in the calendar. Of course, we have the calendar along with the delegate allocation rules, which is very important to look at. Just loading here, because a lot of states use winner-take-all systems, or over 50%, and you win all of the delegates, versus a state like Iowa, which is very proportional. No winner-take-all threshold. I think you need like 1% to get a delegate, which is doable for some of these candidates. So, of course, I'm just waiting for this calendar to load. But again, Iowa is the first state. And we're just looking at the Republican primary, and we're going in order. This is my final Republican primary prediction. So, starting in Iowa, I think that Asa Hutchinson does get a delegate. I think that, he has been campaigning very hard in Iowa. He should get at least like 1% or something like that. Moving on, again, Iowa's a proportional state for their delegates. I am thinking that Vivek Ramaswamy does slightly outperform expectations. I'm not saying by a lot, but he is expected to get like 5, 6, 7%. But he is right when he says that a lot of his caucus goers aren't being polled currently. I think that he is accurate about that. So I would expect him to get 10%, and that would be a pretty good showing for him. That's 4 delegates from Iowa. And then I don't think that Ryan Binkley receives any delegates, unfortunately. He just isn't well known enough. And then when it comes to Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, we are seeing this fight for second place, fight to become that main Trump challenger, to move on to New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada as Trump's really main challenger. So this non-Trump base isn't split between them. And I'm currently thinking that they both win about 17.5% of the vote. I really couldn't tell you who wins more. I'm thinking right now Ron DeSantis beats Nikki Haley and wins second place, just by less than a percentage point. But for delegate allocation, they both win 17 delegates. And that means that Donald Trump absolutely dominates in the state of Iowa. He wins over 50% of the vote and wins 21 delegates. This is my final prediction for the Iowa caucuses. And then you move on just a week and a day later to the state of New Hampshire, the second contest in this primary season. Looking at January 23rd is the New Hampshire primary, and their minimum threshold is 10%, but they do not have a winner-take-all threshold. So, really, the only candidates that I see winning any delegates are Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Asa Hutchinson is probably still in the race by now. He says that he will wait until South Carolina, and I think that if he were lying, then he would have dropped out already. I mean, he knows he's not really getting any votes really anywhere, maybe besides Iowa, where he could get 1 or 2%. So he's still probably in the race by then. Ryan Binkley, I'll mention, I think is out if he doesn't win a single delegate in Iowa. I think that Ryan Binkley is done. And then you've got Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Donald Trump. Vivek Ramaswamy has not been able to crack 10% in a New Hampshire poll since July or something. Since the summer, he's only at like 4, 5, 6% in New Hampshire. I don't see him outperforming really in New Hampshire all that much. Maybe, but probably not. He's not winning 10%, I don't think. And then you've got Ron DeSantis, who at one time it looked like he was going to win New Hampshire, but in recent months has dropped to literally 5th place in some polls back when Chris Christie was in the race. 5th place between Trump, Haley, Christie, and Ramaswamy. That's absurd. A recent CNN poll had him at 5% in New Hampshire. Yeah, no, I think that poll had him in 5th, actually, behind Vivek Ramaswamy. He's still in 5th. So, and additionally, Ron DeSantis knows he's toast in New Hampshire, so he actually said that he is not campaigning in New Hampshire right after Iowa. He is just moving right down to South Carolina instead, totally opting to, basically drop out of that New Hampshire primary because he knows he's going to win 8% tops. So the only candidates that I see receiving any delegates are Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Polls are showing a closer race, much closer race than before. That CNN poll that I mentioned had Trump up by 7, but that poll up against Nikki Haley. But that poll also had whatever his name is, Chris Christie. That was when Chris Christie was still in the race, and Chris Christie got 12% in that poll, right, where he was in other polls in New Hampshire. He does very well in New Hampshire for some reason. But that poll also asked Chris Christie voters, who is your second place choice? More than 2/3, 65% of Chris Christie's 12% of voters said that their second choice would be Nikki Haley. 65% of 12 is, of course, a bit more than 8. Nikki Haley was down 7% in that poll. That would give her a 1-point lead against Trump with Chris Christie out. So, that poll was a bit closer than most are, and I do think that Donald Trump does still win. But I'm honestly thinking that this race is really, really close. Actual vote-wise, I think that it would even be closer than this 9 points. Maybe really 5 or 6 points Donald Trump could win by. But by delegates, it's 10-12. So, Trump leads with Iowa and New Hampshire. And then, try to zoom in here so we don't see those ads. And then you move on, the Democrats hold a few primaries. Then you come to Nevada and the Virgin Islands, just to get the Virgin Islands over with. I don't even think they hold a primary. I think they just give all their delegates to Trump. But looking at the state of Nevada, there is some controversy from the state of Nevada because the Secretary of State filed a primary for Nevada on I think on a later date or something, or maybe on an earlier date. However, the Nevada Republican Party completely went against that and said, no, we are holding a state-run caucus, and that is how we will be awarding our delegates. And that's the only way to win delegates. And they said that if you're participating in the primary, then you can't participate in the caucus. Well, Nikki Haley filed to run in this primary before all this controversy happened, so she can't receive any votes in the Nevada caucus where they award delegates. So in Nevada, I don't think they have a minimum threshold. Nope, and there's no winner take all threshold. So I think that Vivek Ramaswamy wins like 2 delegates, and that's pushing it. He's looking at like 5%, but if you round, it would be 2 delegates. And then Nikki Haley doesn't receive any, which is pretty critical. Asa isn't winning 4%, that's for sure. So you're looking at DeSantis carrying maybe 23% of the vote, just because there aren't any Haley voters, and most Haley voters would just go to DeSantis instead, right? Rather than Trump. And then Trump absolutely dominates with 69% of the vote. So at this time, I think that we could see Vivek Ramaswamy drop out. I think that he is done at this point. Only 6 delegates across 3 states, and it's not looking good for his campaign. I think that Vivek drops out at this point. So we're left with a contest between Trump, Nikki Haley, Asa Hutchinson, and Ron DeSantis. So then you come to the critical state of South Carolina, and this is really the state where the lines have been drawn, and this is when we will see, pretty major candidates drop out, where it is officially the end. We are past the 4 main early states, and if you don't really find success in these states, then you won't find success anywhere else. So they run their primary pretty interestingly when it comes to delegates. They don't have they do have a minimum threshold, but let's see. They do have a sort of like a winner take all system. Oh yeah, that's right. What am I thinking? But they award 3 delegates to the winner of each congressional district, and then the rest go to the winner of the primary. So it's half winner take all, half kind of congressional district proportional. So I do think that Trump still wins in the state of South Carolina. We were expecting this race, I was at least, this primary, to kind of narrow up lately, but the few polls that we have seen don't really show it getting any closer for Nikki Haley. I mean, Trump is still dominating by like 25%. He's like doubling Nikki Haley's vote totals. So I think that Nikki Haley does win that first congressional district around Charleston, the more urban, populated areas, but Donald Trump wins 47 of the 50 delegates, and Nikki Haley carries those 3. So you are at the 4 early states. Trump has 107 delegates. Haley has 20. DeSantis has 13. This race is practically already over. If you're not finding any success in these states, how are you in the Super Tuesday states? So that's February 4th in South Carolina, and it's the 4 well-known early primary states. So I would expect at this point Ron DeSantis receiving no delegates in South Carolina, no delegates in New Hampshire, only a handful in Iowa, and only winning some in Nevada because Haley is off the ballot. I would expect Ron DeSantis at this point to drop out. I would also expect Asa Hutchinson to drop out, assuming he keeps his word that he drops out after South Carolina. So then you finally get to the one-on-one race between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. I would honestly expect at this time Haley says that she will stay in at least until Super Tuesday, attempting to win, multiple Super Tuesday states. So then you come to February 27th, the Michigan primary, and they have a over 50% winner-take-all threshold. And between 2 candidates, obviously this one wouldn't even be that close. Michigan goes to Trump. Then you move on to March 2nd, Idaho and Missouri caucuses, both of which have a 50% winner-take-all threshold. Donald Trump dominates, especially in Idaho, but really in both of these states. You then move on to the District of Columbia primary. The delegate allocation website doesn't tell us if it's proportional or what, but I would expect this one honestly to be kind of close, but still not really that close. 36 to 63. Haley wins a couple delegates from D.C. Then is the March 4th North Dakota caucus. We're still not at Super Tuesday. I believe they have a 50%. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. So they hold a caucus like it's not really democratic. It's just among like party leaders and stuff. And in 2016, they allowed or they voted to make their delegates uncommitted, meaning they could vote for anyone at the convention. This time around, though, looking at Trump's dominance so far in the race, I think that they would throw all of their delegates behind Trump. And finally, you move on to the March 5th Super Tuesday contests. We've got Alabama, Alaska, American Samoa, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia. A lot of states. And I think that this would be really the last stand. It was in 2020 in that Biden versus Bernie Sanders contest. Whoever performed well on Super Tuesday was going to assume the nomination, and this is the last stand for Nikki Haley. Is March 5th, Super Tuesday. Iowa, or the winner take all threshold 50%. Obviously, Trump is winning in a southern state like Alabama. In Alaska, well, I should have done the states that I think that Nikki Haley wins, because I actually think that Nikki Haley does win the state of Alaska. They don't have a winner-take-all threshold, but Alaska is one of the two states that I think Haley carries in this primary, realistically. I think that given their really traditional conservative values, given how many independents there are, they have open primaries, I think that Nikki Haley narrowly wins this primary, 53% to 47%, and she does at least carry at least one state. I'll just get to it now. The second state that I think that Nikki Haley carries is the state of Utah. They have a winner-take-all threshold over 50%, so I think that she carries all 40 delegates from Utah. Again, it is a very traditional conservative state. Remember, they have anti-Trump Republicans serving in Utah, most notably Donald Trump. A lot of Republicans against Utah. And just 2 days ago, I think, the lieutenant governor and the first lady of Utah both endorsed Nikki Haley. So I think that she is on track to win the state of Utah. Going to American Samoa, I don't think they even vote. All their delegates go to Trump. Arkansas has a 50% winner-take-all threshold. Again, all of these southern states are sure to go to Trump. California, lots of delegates at stake. I think they're going proportional this year. Last year, the California primary was later in the contest, and Trump was the only name on the ballot that was actually still in the race, who hadn't withdrawn yet. But I'm really expecting Trump to win big here. I'm thinking about 70 to 30. But Haley does win a good amount of delegates still, but still nowhere close to Trump. Then you move on to Colorado. This one would actually be pretty close. I guess they're proportional. Let me just check what happened. Okay. Oh, so they held a caucus. Are they holding a caucus this year? No, they're holding a primary this year. So I would expect them. That's why there's no information about how they allocate their delegates. But I would expect this to be proportional. And this one would be honestly pretty close, because there are a good amount of liberal Republicans here. I mean, remember, Joe O'Dea, the Senate candidate, was extremely liberal in 2022. So Trump wins 21 delegates, Haley 16. Not a bad performance. Looking at Maine, remember Trump was almost off the ballot here, but they put him back on. They have a 50% winner-take-all threshold. I do think this one will be close, Maine, but Trump does win over 50% narrowly. And then you've got Massachusetts. Let's see, they have a 50% threshold. Massachusetts goes off for Trump, obviously. Haley would do okay, but not winning over 50%. Then you've got Minnesota. Winner-take-all threshold is 85%, which Trump is not winning. And remember, Minnesota actually went to Marco Rubio in 2016, so this one would actually be somewhat close. I mean, you do have some pretty liberal Republicans here. I would give Trump 22 delegates, Haley 17. Then you move on to North Carolina. They have a no winner take all threshold, and it is proportional. So Haley doesn't do that. This one would be a blowout, honestly. Maybe 24 tops to Trump's 76. Oklahoma, let's see. A winner take all threshold is 50%. Trump is crushing that. In Tennessee, winner take all threshold is 67%. I honestly think that Trump actually does get there. I think that he wins just over that. He wins all of Tennessee's delegates. Texas, lots of delegates up for grabs. And the winner take all threshold is, unfortunately for Nikki Haley, 50%. That would be an opportunity to win a good amount of delegates, but they all do go to Donald Trump. Utah we covered. And then you've got Vermont and Virginia finishing up Super Tuesday. Vermont 50% is the winner take all threshold. And there is not one in Virginia. It is completely proportional. So even though Vermont would be extremely close, I do think that he does come out on top in Vermont, considering their nominees in 2022 for offices. And Virginia would be somewhat close, considering they have moderate Republicans. 39 to 60 is fair. So at this point, Trump has almost 1,000 delegates. I think you need like 1,200 something to win. He has 988 delegates. Nikki Haley has 202. Trump has 5 times that of Nikki Haley, the second place candidate. Vivek Ramaswamy has 6. Asa Hutchinson has 1. Ron DeSantis has 3. Ryan Binkley has 0. And at this point, I think that we see Nikki Haley drop out. Even though I think I am pushing it with these delegates that Nikki Haley wins. 202 is likely a lot. But Super Tuesday, the states that do hold primaries on Super Tuesday, I do think that they are in Nikki Haley's good fortune, and that she can perform kind of well. Regardless, I think that she drops out after Super Tuesday, and Trump wins the rest of these states. Washington, Oregon, Guam. No idea what NI is. Puerto Rico, Arizona, New Mexico, Hawaii, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, and New York. So, my first primary election night prediction, I remember, more than a year ago now, no, not more than a year ago, what am I saying, had Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis winning the nomination. He won New Hampshire, he won Nevada, and Nikki Haley I had winning South Carolina. A lot of that was just for more views, though, make it more exciting. And today, I have Donald Trump winning 2,245 delegates, Nikki Haley winning 202, Ron DeSantis winning 13 when I had him winning the primary at one point, Vivek Ramaswamy in 4th place at 6, Asa Hutchinson with 1 delegate, and Ryan Binkley with 0. So, I think that this race is essentially over. Haley and DeSantis, I think that they're both running just for their own personal good, trying to get that second place spot for, history books or whatever, a future political career, 2028 probably, they want to run. Both of them are younger, so they do have a future in 2028. So this is my final election, Republican primary prediction before voting starts. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.